Today we're gonna edit your footage. Editing is an art. Most people believe that actors and directors play the most important role in filmmaking, but that isn't true. At least 50% of the film is crafted in the editing room, where all the magic happens and the story comes to life. I will discuss editing from a storytelling angle, overlooking the technicalities because I don't know which editing software you use. Besides, editing software will improve and evolve, as with everything. But the principles I will cover will stick with you forever because they are timeless. Be prepared to be blown away, and let's start. Chapter 1. Editing software and the principles. All video editors are sequencers where you can place your clips in a sequence. If you asked me which software you should get, I'd understand that you probably are a complete beginner, and that's totally fine. In that case, start with your platform video editing software, iMovie for Mac or Windows Movie Maker for Windows. Chapter 2. Editing is a conversation. Video editing is a non-verbal communication between you, the editor, and the audience. Your job is to take the viewers on a journey where they'll be satisfying their subconscious curiosity by answering the questions that you've raised with your images. Let's watch this clip together.
Why it's dark. The little girl had her eyes shut. Who's with her? It's a man gifting her a pair of roller skates. Where are they? They're in a huge rink. What is she going to do? She asks him to skate with her. Will he skate with her? Yes, they're having a great time. Suddenly, a sound. What was it? There's someone else in the rink. What are they going to do? They decide to run away with their backpacks and goggles. Why are they carrying goggles?
As you can see, editing is a two-clip process. The first clip raises a question. The second answers that question. Each shot addresses a subtle, unspoken query that the audience has. The goal is to keep viewers engaged by satisfying their subconscious curiosity. Chapter 3. The Kuleshov effect. The Kuleshov effect is an editing technique that Soviet filmmaker Lev Kuleshov developed in the early 20th century. It shows how the meaning of a shot depends on the context of the other shots around it. Let me show you how it works. This sequence starts with a bowl of soup and cuts to the actor's face. We can definitely tell that the actor is hungry. The next sequence shows a kid in a coffin. Next, we cut to the actor's face. We can tell he is sad. Lastly, a shot of a beautiful woman cuts to the actor's face. We feel that he's in love. In each example, we used the exact same video of the actor, but the audience thought he felt different things because of how we arranged each shot. This shows how movie editing is incredibly powerful. In the editing room, we can influence our audience by making them feel different emotions and meanings based on how we arranged our shots. Chapter 4. Acts, scenes, beats, microbeats. This is the timeline of my latest short film called The Apology. I'll put a link in the description. You're now looking at Causality, the screenplay software I used to write the film. We discussed screenwriting in episode 3 of this course. You watched it, didn't you? As you can see, this is a 3-act story. Every act is split into small pieces, the scenes. Each scene is split into smaller pieces, the beats and the microbeats. The 3 acts are Act 1, set up. We see the character in its world and introduce the problem. Act 2, the challenge. The character has a challenge to carry over. Act 3, payoff. We see the character's transformation. He will never get angry at anyone because he doesn't know what each person is going through. In the editing room, I want to see the information I find in Causality. Otherwise, the timeline in your editing software will be confusing. It will be just a bunch of clips in a sequence, and it will be almost impossible to understand where a scene starts or stops without scrolling randomly among this mess. I suggest you use markers or 2 empty tracks to define the 3 acts of each scene. In episode 4, when we talked about storyboarding your film, I gave you a storyboard template with some space to write the scene and beat numbers, remember? Like here in scene 1, I'm numbering several beats chronologically. I find it to be beneficial to add more markers in my timeline accordingly. These may seem gimmicky and useless, but it's not. It only takes a few minutes to tidy up your timeline so that you'll immediately know where you are just by looking at it. Besides, you will see that after writing your screenplay and the storyboard, many ideas and changes will take place when you shoot your film and edit the footage. Being organized will allow you to make those changes efficiently. If I wanted to add a B-roll in Act 2, Scene 10, I could quickly do so by looking at the timeline. We covered acts that are divided into scenes that are divided into beats, but we haven't yet discussed microbeats. Microbeats are beats within the beats and are divided into frames. A frame is the smallest unit of a video. Look at this scene from my film where the little girl sits on my bed. If I hadn't cut this bit at this exact frame, the scene wouldn't have been scary at all. A few frames longer or shorter wouldn't have worked for my purpose, making the audience jump from their chair and my character overwhelmed with fear. You mustn't underestimate the message that a single frame can deliver. Most films are shot in 24 frames per second. This means that you, as an editor, need to make 24 decisions per second. Chapter 5. Cuts and transitions. A cut or a transition is how we move from one beat or one scene to another. There are hundreds of creative ways to do that. Some of them are obsolete and cheesy, like this wipe transition. I will suggest 12 main transitions that you can use in your short film, starting with a standard cut. The standard cut, also known as the hard cut, is a classic editing technique where one scene goes to the next with no visual transition. J-cut. In filmmaking, a J-cut is when you hear the sound from the next scene before you see it. An L-cut is the opposite of a J-cut. Like in this example, we have a clip A and clip B. Notice how clip A audio continues in clip B footage. Jump cut. A jump cut shows the passing of time. The camera is in a tripod and does not move. Cross-cut. Cross-cutting in filmmaking is when the movie shows 2 different scenes happening at the same time, going back and forth between them, like a conversation on the phone between 2 people in different places. Smash cut. A smash cut is very abrupt, where you cut from something very chaotic and something extremely quiet. Match cut. A match cut is when 2 different shots are joined together based on similarity in their visuals, like in this example. We're cutting from the bunch of daisies to the daisies at the cemetery. Cutting on action. Cutting on action is when the camera switches between angles while the subject is in the middle of a movement or action, making the transition less noticeable. For instance, cutting from a character starting to open a door in one shot to then pushing it open in another shot. Cutaways. A cutaway is when the camera briefly shows something different or unrelated to the main scene, often used for dramatic effect, such as cutting away to a close-up of a character's reaction during a scene. Advanced match cut. We can take a frame from scene A and use it in scene B, and call it an advanced match cut. In this example, we are using the picture in the frame to transition to the next scene. Invisible cut is when 2 separate shots are seamlessly joined together, so that it appears as if there was no interruption. It could be a camera movement that finishes with something black, blended with the next scene where the camera starts moving from something that is black. An invisible cut can be everything, like a whip pen between 2 objects you blend together in the middle. The camera movement can be from right to left, up to down, or in any direction as long as the movement is fast. Wipe cut. The wipe cut works when something moves in front of the camera, a person, a car, etc., and the scene wipes away using the motion of the subject. There are millions of combos of different transitions, and you can make your own creative ones. That's all I have for you today, and Don't get overwhelmed with all this information. Download the reference PDF from the video description and come back to this video whenever you need a refresher. Everything I covered in this video, actually in this course, will make a lot more sense as you start practicing these techniques. You'll get better shot by shot, clip by clip, frame by frame. By the way, I can't believe we're almost done with this filmmaking crash course. It has been a journey, especially for me. The next episode would be the last one. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or feedback, and if you're new around here, nice to meet you. Thank you for watching, I appreciate your time, and have a fantastic day.
It's a strange kind of phase when you let go.